I had the great honor to go to the former Soviet Union with Reb Shlomo in 1989. It's quite a long story, but in 1987, a friend of mine, Stuart Wax, and I went to the Soviet Union together to Moscow. And in the 2 weeks' time that I was there, 10 days exactly, the last day I met a piano player named Lev Sud. I was going to visit musicians all over Moscow. And he told me about this underground concert they do once a year in Lag BaOmer. And kind of as a silly thing, I said to him, what can I do to help you? So he says, you know, you Americans, years ago when they had the Jackson Amendment and you went out on the streets and you protested on our behalf and signed those petitions, it was helpful. But now, it's not going to help because for the non-Jews, more or less there's freedom, but it's a fake for the Jews. Glasnost is not real for the Jews. The only thing you can do for us is to bring Shlomo Carlebach. If you bring Shlomo, we need a spiritual shot in the arm. Bring Shlomo Carlebach. So 2 years later, Stewie and some other friends of his worked very hard. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, with the Seattle Jewish Federation, and they were blessed to bring Shlomo Carlebach, and I had the honor of bringing a 10-piece band to play with Shlomo. We did 3 weeks of shows every night all over the former Soviet Union. And you really saw Shlomo in his element because the love that he was giving to the people. I don't know anybody in the world that could have done that. He was only giving, and they were so open to receiving. One morning he gave 200 teenagers Jewish names at the Torah. One morning we literally smuggled 50 teenagers on a bus, took them to the kever of Rabbi Nachman, and we said Tehillim there and heard stories about who Rabbi Nachman was. The first night was so indicative of Shlomo. We were in Leningrad, Petersburg now, and Shlomo was playing, and all of a sudden he stops and he goes, Chevra, I don't understand. If you're over 80 years old, okay, I can understand why you don't get up and dance. But if you're not over 80, come on, let's go. Now, what was the big deal about that? Because everybody was looking around them thinking that the KGB was sitting next to them. And as soon as Shlomo said that, it melted everything down and the place erupted. And hundreds of people ran up to the stage to dance with us. On the way home, I remember the way home from the Beit Knesset in Leningrad on Shabbat morning, a walk of 20 minutes from the Beit Knesset to the hotel took 2 hours. So Shlomo said hello to every single person on the way. Every person. And the stories on and on. The amount of giving that Shlomo did there was something that should be an example for every Jew and every person in the world. To know how important it is to give to people that you know, to people that you don't know. To give from your heart only because this is what God wants you to do. So I'm excited to read Natan Ophir's book, because other than the stories that I told him, I know there's hundreds of stories, and it's mamish about Shlomo's life. There have been a lot of beautiful works written about Shlomo, but they've been capsulized, this part of his life, this teaching of Shlomo. And this, I understand from Natan, is a full overview of Shlomo's life, and I'm really looking forward to reading it.